This is the story of Tunnels of Danger. You can read along with me in your book. You will know it is time to turn the page when you hear the chimes ring like this. Let's begin now. It was just after dinner in the Jarvis house. Chris Jarvis was staring at his mother in shock.
Mom, Sarah Callan is so plain. How could you tell her mother I'd take Sarah to the dance?
Chris, it won't kill you to be nice to her. Sarah isn't plain. She's just going through an awkward stage.
Fine. Call me when she comes out of it.
As Chris stomped off to his room, his ring began to flash.
Uh-oh, the Photon warriors need me.
He raced to the Photon Center. As he dashed inside, he bumped into Sarah coming out. She smiled at him.
Hi, Chris. Mom says we might be going to the dance together.
Gee, I'd love to, but I've got this huge paper due.
Sarah's smile disappeared, and Chris felt terrible. He knew her feelings were hurt. Chris hurried to the playing area. Suddenly, he was surrounded by a beam of blue light, and he vanished. An instant later, he appeared on Intellistar, home base of the Photon Alliance. He was no longer Chris Jarvis. He was Bodhi Lee, Photon Warrior. He greeted the other 5 warriors.
Hi, gang. Sorry if I'm late. What's going on?
Tivia gave him a cold look.
Bodhi Lee, why are you always the last to arrive?
Uncle Pike, the master of disguise, smiled at Tivia's outburst.
Tivia works very hard to stay cold to Bodhi. I'm betting on an early thaw.
Tivia scowled.
Enough nonsense. Let's hear about our mission.
Mom, the Alliance's giant computer, showed them a rocky planet on her view screen.
We've had a message from the planet Barbaroi. They wish to join the Photon Alliance.
Bodhi frowned.
Someone lives on that barren mud ball?
Yes, and that barren mud ball is rich in photon crystals. The warlord would love to get his hands on them, so we'd better get there first. It's time for the light to shine on Barbaroi.
Halfway across the galaxy, a dark, ominous structure hung in space. This was Star Castle, home of the evil warlord of Ar. The warlord summoned Pyrar, one of his top soldiers.
Pyrar, go to Barbaroi and meet with our agent there. We must seize the planet's photon crystals before Barbaroi has a chance to join the Alliance.
I hear and obey, my lord. Let the darkness grow.
A short time later, the Photon warriors arrived on Barbaroi. Uncle Pike looked around.
Shouldn't someone be here to meet us? Look out!
An ugly rock creature was rushing right at them. Before they could draw their weapons, a phaser blast sent the creature fleeing. A young woman stepped out from behind a rock, holding a phaser.
I am Facade. Come with me.
Bodhi couldn't believe his eyes. Facade was the most beautiful girl he'd ever seen. Parzival eyed her suspiciously.
I'm not sure about this.
Bodhi laughed.
If it's a choice between Beauty and the Beast, I'll take Beauty every time. Right, Uncle Pike?
Yes, lad, you got a point.
Uncle Pike and the others started after Facade. Parzival hung back and whispered to Tivia.
I'm not going. I want to find out who that rock creature is.
I'll stay and help you find him.
No, Tivia. You go with the others. They may need you more than I will.
Facade led the Photon warriors into an underground chamber.
We have a rule against weapons here. I must ask for your phasers.
She took the weapons and went into another room. Moments after the door closed and locked behind her, a window opened high in the wall. It was Facade, laughing at them. And standing at her side was Pyrar.
Ahoy, Photon warriors! The light is about to stop shining for you forever. 'Cause
On the surface of the planet, Parzival searched for the rock creature.
Hello? Where are you? I'm a friend.
He heard a noise nearby and rushed toward it. He found himself in a dead-end canyon with nobody in sight.
Hey, where'd you go?
There was no answer. Discouraged, he turned back, and there was one of the warlord's soldiers. Parzival yelled into his communicator.
Bodhi, Tivia, I need help.
There was no answer. The soldier lunged at Parzival. As he did, a nearby boulder stirred. It was the rock creature. He threw himself at the soldier, who fell to the ground unconscious. Parzival shook the creature's hand gratefully.
I don't know where you came from, but I'm sure glad you showed up.
Meanwhile, in the underground chamber, molten lava poured into the room. As it rose higher and higher, Bodhi pulled himself up the rough wall.
Start climbing, everybody! I can't believe someone as beautiful as Facade could be so evil.
Tivia hoisted herself up the wall.
Typical of you, Bodhi. Dazzled by a pretty face, blind to what a person really is.
He snapped back at her.
I'm not that shallow. Am I?
The weaponless Photon warriors climbed to the top of the wall. Below them, the lava kept rising. Suddenly, the rock beneath Tivia's feet broke, and she started to fall.
Tivia!
Bodhi reached out and grabbed her just in time. Her expression softened for a moment as she looked up at him. Uncle Pike grinned.
I might win my bet after all.
Stiffening, Tivia growled at him.
Not on your life.
Outside, the rock creature faced Parzival.
I am Violet. I'm the one who signaled your alliance.
Then who is Facade?
She is in league with the warlord of all. He gave her beauty. In return, she is helping him steal control of Barbaroi.
My friends must be in trouble. Let's go.
Parzival followed Bilek down an entrance to the underground city. They raced through a beehive of tunnels. As they turned a corner, they found themselves face to face with Pyrar.
Ah! Another Photon warrior!
He let a blast fly from his phaser. Parzival and Bilek jumped back, and the beam tore a hole in the wall. Through the opening, they saw a room filled with lava. It was the cell where their friends were being held. Bodhi and the others dove through the opening to safety. Pyrar howled.
Violet, you are the cause of this. Prepare to die.
Pyrar aimed his weapon at the rock creature, but Bodhi knocked it aside. The blast hit the ceiling, sending tons of rock plummeting down. Pyrar jumped clear, but Bilek and Bodhi were buried beneath the rubble. Tivia raced over and began throwing rocks aside.
Bodhi's got to be all right. He's got to.
As she worked, the rubble began to move. Bodhi crawled out from under Bilek, who stood up, throwing the boulders aside.
I covered the boy. I'm made of rock. Other rock can't hurt me.
Tivia gave Bodhi a big hug. Uncle Pike grinned.
It seems I win my bet.
Bodhi put his arm around Bilek's shoulders.
You threw yourself over me without a second thought. You may be made of rock, but you look beautiful to me.
Bilek shuffled his feet awkwardly.
It is nothing. You would have done the same. But now I must go help my people, the Shaleks, get rid of Pyrar and Facade.
He hurried off, with his new friends close behind. Emerging from the tunnels, they peered into a rocky valley. Pyrar's soldiers were forcing the Shaleks to mine photon crystals for the warlord's evil use. Bodhi crawled over to Lord Bathan.
I've got an idea. Here's what we need to do.
Bathan nodded. Using his magical power beam, he raised a huge boulder into the air and sent it floating off toward a nearby volcano. Pyrar spotted him.
The Photon warriors! Attack, mateys!
Bodhi raced out of hiding.
Come on, everyone! We've got to slow them down until Bathan can finish his job.
Bodhi zapped a soldier on his left.
Okay, Bathan, anytime!
The wizard released the power beam, dropping the boulder into the throat of the volcano. Instantly, the ground began to shake. Panicking, Pyrar called to his men.
The whole place is going to explode! Retreat, mateys!
As the alien spaceship zoomed away, Lathan removed the boulder, and the Shalaks cheered. Tibia grabbed Fassad, who had been left behind.
Well, Bodhi, you seem to like her. Here she is.
No, I've learned my lesson. No more judging people by their looks. From now on, I'm asking for x-rays before I make friends.
Bilek brought the first load of photon crystals from the mine. Parsifal trained his phaser on them. The crystals glowed, and rays shot out across the surface of the planet. Bilek gasped.
Greenery sprouts from rock. There are lakes where there were only craters. And we Shalaks aren't ugly anymore. We've changed.
Tibia smiled.
No, Violet, you haven't changed. The photon crystals only brought the truth to the surface.
Later, back home on Earth, Chris Jarvis rang Sarah Callan's doorbell. He didn't care anymore if she was plain. He liked her, and that was enough. A stunning young lady opened the door, and Chris gasped.
Sarah? Is that you?
Of course it is. My braces came off and I got contact lenses, that's all. I'm still the same person.
Well, then, I still like you. Even if you are pretty.
Sarah took his arm, and the two friends headed for the dance. That was the end of the story. If you would like to hear it again, turn the tape over.